What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. This is the second episode ever of Clear the Benches Sports Talk. Here in this episode, you'll hear me and Paul talk about the NFL draft, now that the dust has settled, who we thought had good and bad drafts. And then we'll bring on Summer, and we'll talk about the NCAA settlement to how athletes can now get paid and endorsed, as well as the return of the first American sport, NASCAR, the first ones to pull the trigger. And then lastly, I'll bring on my good friend Nate Lamb, and we're going to talk about the NBA GOAT and who we think is the best ever. And you might notice at some parts in this podcast you might get a little audio lag, but that's because everything was recorded on Zoom. But for the most part, everything's good. Enjoy. Welcome back. Second episode ever, Clear the Benches. I'm just going to go ahead and dive straight into some post-draft reaction talk. So we're going to talk about who we thought had good drafts, bad drafts, some shocking things that happened. So just going to go ahead and start out talking a little bit about what the Cincinnati Bengals did, which obviously the Bengals should have had a good draft, which they did have a good draft, having the first overall pick. They took the inevitable Joe Burrow. No, it's an obvious pick is an understatement for Joe Burrow.
Yeah,
in second round, Logan Wilson, which was one of my big sleepers in the third round. He actually got taken way earlier than he should have. Not than he should have, but then he was projected.
What most people
thought. Akeem Davis, linebacker, App State, and another offensive tackle and another linebacker in the seventh. But anyways, this was really good for the Bengals. It's exactly what they needed. The obvious Joe Burrow, his name speaks for himself at this point. Had one of the best seasons in college football history.
Heisman winner, national champion, everything. Whatever there is, first round draft pick, everything.
Yeah, he's got it all. He's probably got the best college season ever, up there with Cam Newton, definitely as quarterback. But T. Higgins, second round, was a real – that's a steal. T. Higgins is a top 10 talent any other year, honestly.
Yeah, any other year he'd be a first receiver taken probably. Maybe not top 5 receiver taken.
Definitely. Well, he was – I don't know. Was he top 5? I think he might have been top 5 this year. Well, he's right on the brink of top 5. But either way, you throw Higgins in with what they already got at receiver out there. If they can get A.J. Green healthy again.
John Ross.
John Ross with his speed in the slot, deep threat. T. Higgins on the opposite side of the field from A.J. Green is just scary. And just think now they have Joe Burrow also throwing them the ball.
Yeah.
That's pretty much sums up what they needed on offense. That all this also accompanies Joe Mixon, who is one of the most underrated backs in the league. He's got all the potential in the world. Then on the defensive side of the ball, they did what they needed to shore it up. They built somewhat from the inside out. They took a defensive tackle and they took 3 inside linebackers, but 2 pretty solid inside linebackers in Logan Wilson, who was my sleeper last week, 400 career tackles in college at Wyoming, and Akeem Davis Gaither, who was a big-time sleeper out of App State. He was a defensive captain in the Senior Bowl, and he was just the centerpiece of a very strong defense there at App State. He had a great game against USC.
App State keeps producing every year, too, in every position. So if you're drafting somebody from App State, it's like drafting somebody from all these Power 5 schools. They just keep out there.
App State. Basically, I think the Bengals had probably the most glitzy draft. They had a lot of picks that stood off the paper. Burrows, Higgins, the big names. But I don't know. There's more to get to, so we're just going to move on.
Yeah. I mean, I thought that the Broncos had a really good draft. They filled the needs they needed on the offense at the receivers and tight end position coming off last year. They already have Cortland Sutton, who is going to be a really good wide receiver. But then they got 3 more that are they're going to give them a lot of weapons outside. And then they got the tight end from Missouri that Locke played with when he was in college, and he's ran an insane 40 time. Can't remember what it was, and they already got that connection, so that'll help build the trust and everything they need from there.
They're definitely building some young pieces on that offense in Denver with Philip Lindsay, Cortland Sutton,
Oh yeah,
Drew Lock, and now this year's draft.
what the skill players are going to be.
Yeah, I'm not honestly not all that sure what they're looking like on the inside, but
Oh yeah.
uh, the thing I was thinking of wondering with the Broncos drafting all these wide receivers is in a lot of these pre-draft mocks, people were listing Jerry Jeudy as like a slot receiver. He got a lot of reps in college in the slot, but
You can
they
play
took
everywhere.
They took Jerry Jeudy, which is supposedly a slot receiver, but then turned around and took KJ Hamler, which is definitely a slot receiver.
Yeah, 100%. He has to play slot.
Yeah.
So I think
what I got out of that is Jerry Judy's moving. He's definitely going to be playing more on the outside. Is what I'm getting out.
Yeah. I think he's definitely going to have more reps on the outside. But I think what they liked about him a lot is that he can play everything. He's got the speed and the athleticism to play on the inside, and then outside his route tree, he can run every route. He's a great route runner. Got great ball skills. Anything you need for him. Which was shocking to see him not go first receiver, in my opinion. But
I think, in my opinion, Jerry Jeudy was one of the best prospects in the draft since Julio Jones, wide receiver prospects since Julio Jones. That dude, Jeudy can do it all. As much as I hate to say it, but he can do it all.
You gotta admit it when it's there.
Yeah. So moving along, next draft we're going to be talking about. The Miami Dolphins had a really, really, really good draft, but it was almost impossible for them to screw it up considering they had like 20 freaking picks, 3 first-rounders. I mean, they
made a lot of good draft picks.
Yeah. They took Tua, which is someone they really needed. No offense to Ryan Fitzmagic. We all love Ryan Fitzmagic. Gunslinger Ryan Fitzpatrick. But Tua, he's the type of guy that's going to come in, probably be the face of the franchise if he can stay healthy, which has been a problem. And they did a really good job within the draft to build up things that they needed support Tua, mainly in Miami. What he needed was an offensive line really bad because if you ever watched the Dolphins games last year, God bless your heart, Ryan Fitzpatrick or whoever was playing quarterback was literally freaking running for their life. They took 4 O-linemen in the draft, which is huge, and one being Austin Jackson out of Southern Cal, which he's an animal up front. He's really athletic for a big guy too. And then on defense, don't want to leave this out. Defense, they took another one of my sleepers, Raekwon Davis, on the DL. He fell all the way to late second, which was a steal for him, in my opinion. Now what they're going to do, they're going to take Raekwon Davis and throw him at defensive tackle right next to Christian Wilkins, and then you've got a young, powerful, really full of potential there on the DL.
It'll be tough for teams to run up the middle on him.
Yeah.
I think with Raekwon, if he would have came out after 2018, he probably would have been a lot higher draft pick. He produced a lot more in 2018.
Definitely.
Yeah, but my next good draft was with the Cardinals, man. I mean, they were able to not really sneak in there, but they got Isaiah after he dropped longer than most people thought he would, especially with teams that needed him. But that's a different point. We're not going to talk about that right now. They got Josh Jones, the offensive tackle from Houston, which is going to be huge in replacing Marcus Gilbert. He's 32. He's pretty injury prone lately, and it's his last year's contract. So I think they're going to work on him to replace him. And they got Josh Jones in the 3rd round. A lot of people saw him possibly being a late 1st rounder, early 2nd rounder draft pick, but I think it was kind of a theme that a lot of offensive tackles, like, nobody knew who they were going to take it.
Yeah.
Some were taken earlier than they thought. Some were taken a lot later than they thought. So I think them getting him in the 3rd round was a nice little pickup. And then they met their needs on defense. They got 2 defense tackles, which they really needed. One's probably going to get moved to a defensive end, but that's still going to work out. And then Isaiah obviously helped out with the linebackers or wherever they're going to need them. And they got a true linebacker too, who can stop the run and drop in coverage a little bit. And then they took my sleeper pick, which I think is going to work out. They really need a running back, and with the trade with DeAndre and David Johnson to the Texans. So I think that Eno will be able to come in and hopefully produce a little bit. Like I said, I think he'll be like Austin Eckler, come in by surprise and shock and take over the league.
Benjamin was he's going to be a plug and play guy for them.
No.
I mean, running the ball, at least they have Kenyon Drake. He's pretty good in the third down back. He's good in the pass game or whatever, but he's a
he's a little on the shy, so he shocks you with his athleticism, explosiveness, and his power running. He'll run it up the middle if you need him to.
Yeah, man. Isaiah Simmons got picked there in Arizona. I just don't see how anybody in need of a defensive player could ever pass up on Isaiah Simmons.
Yeah, I don't.
Panthers, Colts,
yeah,
but
I mean,
it's weird. Isaiah Simmons.
I'm not going to talk about it.
It's weird because Clemson fans, people like me and Paul who've watched Isaiah Simmons through his college career, we think he can play literally anywhere on defense, middle linebacker, safety, whatever. But a lot of people and draft experts have been talking about Isaiah Simmons moving to somewhat of a 3-4 weak side linebacker to where he rushes the passer off the edge sometimes, like kind of like a Von Miller type is what a lot of people have been putting him as. But I don't know. I just see him as a guy who's going to roam the middle of the field and just take over that portion of the field. I don't know.
I think his presence in the middle of the field is second to none. I mean, he could if his presence means breaking up a pass, he'll do it. He'll roam the field like a center fielder in baseball, or he can clog the gaps, fill the run, do everything he needs there. But I think that, I mean, I know that he can obviously pass the rusher very well or rush the passer very well. Yeah, got my words a little mixed up. I'm a little dyslexic, but we'll let that one slide. But I think that if they need him to rush the passer, he'll be able to do it. But I think he's very good at roaming the middle, playing center field.
Isaiah Simmons, I mean, okay, I understand teams are really looking for speed off the edge, pass rushers, but a 4.39 is not something that you plug in at like almost somewhat of a defensive end type role. 4.39 is fast for somebody in the secondary, nonetheless a freaking linebacker who's 6'6", 245. I mean,
yeah, he'll be able to match up with your running backs coming out of the backfield, your tight ends, slot receivers. He'll be a mismatch wherever you put him. He'll have the speed and athleticism to beat the tight ends, the size to be the running backs and the slot receivers. It's just nothing's going to – I just don't see how, especially a team like Arizona that needs the help in pass coverage as well as the run game, is going to use him as a defensive rusher type position.
Real quick though, how about the Cardinals all over are they're looking like they're kind of turning themselves around.
Yeah, I mean,
their receiving core is looking like one of the strongest in the league.
Yeah,
they've got a good young quarterback, just drafted some good young players. I really think,
and they got probably the best offensive mind in football right now.
Kingsbury's legit. He's going to find the Cardinals aren't going to be bad for very long.
No.
It just kind of sucks for them. They're stuck in a division with the Niners and the Seahawks, and
it's a very tough division.
Yeah, that's Larry. Might be the toughest division in football.
Yeah, and it sucks for Larry Fitzgerald at the end of his career. Imagine if this was in his prime with all these other players around him.
Yeah, Kingsbury's not. As long as Kingsbury doesn't pull a Bill O'Brien and just completely butcher and mess up any relationships he has.
I think Bill O'Brien's the only coach that can do that.
Don't even get me started on Bill O'Brien. That's a whole different talk for a whole nother time.
Yeah.
Let's see. Anyways, we're gonna move on, talk a little bit more about some more shocking stuff that happened in the draft rather than just draft classes. So first and foremost, kind of, I don't know, admitting defeat here, I guess is what I'm doing, because for those of you who watched last week's, we talked about our booms and our busts and our fits, where everybody was going. And Paul mentioned Jordan Love to the Packers, and last week I just thought this was outrage, like out of the question. Paul's looking like some kind of draft guru here. I don't know. What do you got to say about that?
Well, I don't know. I saw some stuff that the Packers might be looking for a quarterback. I saw that this was the same age and about time when they drafted Aaron Rodgers to do this for Brett Favre. So I don't know. I knew obviously Tua, Herbert, and Burrow weren't going to drop that far. So I just knew he'd probably be around then, and I don't know. I just thought it was a good pick for him.
I guess you could say he's kind of the same style as Aaron Rodgers. I don't know. What do you think? Aaron Rodgers' next move here. I don't. Aaron Rodgers reports are that he's not very happy with his pick.
No, yeah, well, that's just normal Aaron Rodgers fashion. I mean,
yeah, no, I mean that guy.
It's weird.
Are that he's a tool, but anyways.
Yeah.
You saw today. I don't know if you saw this or not. Actually, today released. Brett Favre was saying that Aaron Rodgers is pretty much he's not going to finish his career with Green Bay. Like
I can see that happen too. Yeah. I mean, sometimes you just get fed up.
So next, definitely what I think was the most shocking thing, at least well, this is a little biased, but anyways, in my opinion, the most shocking thing, what happened in the first round, we've already touched on it a little bit. The Panthers passed on Isaiah Simmons at 8. This, which is just
I mean, a Panthers fan, would really like for them to take him. I guess a little out of bias, so it's hard for me to speak on because maybe I'm just ignorant because of my bias, but I just don't see how you can pass on Isaiah for Derrick Brown. I mean, Derrick Brown's a great player, best defense tackle in the class for sure. But when you need that many needs on defense, running a 3-4 defense, which they just changed to last year, so I don't see them changing it back this year. But they could with the new coach and everything. But when you do all that and you need a player in so many, if you need needs in so many positions, which obviously they did, their whole draft was defensive players from all over the field. Just take the best sole defensive player in the draft and let him fill where you need. I don't know. I guess they just felt like they needed a true defense tackle up the middle more than they needed someone that could play everything. But
it was shocking to me mostly because Kuechly just retired. He was kind of their do-it-all guy on defense, really good in coverage, kind of like what Isaiah Simmons is.
Yeah, and I think they think Shaq Thompson can do that too. But I think Shaq started to adapt the new role after Thomas Davis left. Just the pure middle linebacker. I mean, coming out of college, Shaq Thompson was he played running back, he played safety, he played linebacker. A little bit the same as Isaiah Simmons and Miles Jackson, another person that's kind of like that. So, but I think they want him to do what people think Isaiah Simmons is going to do. But I think that Shaq is more of a true traditional middle linebacker now than he was when he first came to the league.
Yeah. I don't. Funny story. Me and Paul were watching. We weren't watching, social distancing. We were zooming together during the draft, and the Panthers come up. Me and Paul were definitely thinking Isaiah Simmons is a lot to go to the Panthers. Paul's getting all excited, and Paul goes, "No, watch this. We're gonna do something stupid like take Derrick Brown or something. That's such a Panthers move." And then
they take the defense tackle like every year, not every year. A lot of times, interior defensive lineman, a lot.
Next thing you know, Paul hangs up the freaking call. He's raging, whatever though.
Yeah. With that being said, I hope that he goes and is the best defensive tackle in Panthers history.
Yes.
But I just want Isaiah Simmons.
So another, I don't know if I'm calling it stupid or just overly, I don't know. The Bears drafted their 9th tight end on the roster. And I think, was it the first or second round? Second round? Third round?
It was in the second round, yeah.
Yeah. Drafted their 9th tight end on the roster in the second round in Cole Kmet.
It's power football. That's what they want to run, I guess.
Yeah, power football. I'm all for power football, 3 yards in a cloud of dust. But, I mean, one of those tight ends is Jimmy Graham, which I understand he's probably past his prime, but I just feel like that second round pick could be picked on. I mean, could be used on a position where you
their first pick
don't have 9 people.
That was their first pick in the draft too. So I just don't see taking your ninth tight end. I think Cole Kmet's a great tight end, a receiving tight end. So if they really do want that many tight ends for power football, then he's not the one I would have taken there. But
Yeah.
I do think he's a great player, and he'll be a good flex tight end. But it's just shocking, and I'm sure that a lot of Chicago fans are irritated.
Yeah, if they're gonna get if they're gonna use that pick on not a tight, I mean like a weapon for somebody, Trubisky / Nick Foles, you would think they would use it on somebody out wide, a
Yeah,
receiver.
especially with as many receivers are in this class. How many good receivers are in this class?
Yeah, I don't
Literally
know.
from first round picks to Juwan Jennings in the seventh round, all the receivers were good.
They didn't. Dude, I think that second round pick is an obvious receiver pick for them. Their defense is already stacked. They didn't have a terrible time trying to run the ball last year, but
Yeah.
they just needed weapons on the outside and someone to help Trubisky. And I don't know if Cole Kmet is that guy. He could be. I hope he is, but I don't know. Just seems kind of stupid to me.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and then another uh, shocking thing, or not, I mean, to us, I guess it depends on how you look at it, but a lot of people, I thought personally the Raiders had a good draft, and I trust John Gruden and Mike Mayock, the two probably best minds in draft analysis in football, with their draft picks, because they proved it last year that they're not going to just go by what people rank the players, just going to draft them right away, and they're going to draft their needs and who they want for those needs, no matter the round. They proved that last year. What they took Cleveland with their fourth pick in the draft. A lot of people had him going in the mid-teens, and but I saw a lot of people giving the Raiders like a C grade with their draft, which is one of the worst this year. But that's just a little shocking to me because I think John and Mike know exactly what they're going to do. So if I was a Raider fan or the Raider fans out there watching this, don't panic if you're reading those
No.
things at all.
I'm right there with you on that one. I thought that they had the draft that they needed, kind of.
Yeah, they got what they needed.
They drafted Ruggs first round.
Yeah,
Guy's a
well,
freaking
that shocked a lot of
bird.
people thinking it would be Judy or CD, but they needed that vertical threat, the burner speed that they got with them. It's hard to pass on a receiver that can just run past anybody in the secondary.
And then after that, they took old buddy from Kentucky. What's his name?
Oh, Lynn Bowden.
Yeah, Lynn Bowden.
Yeah, which is a playmaker. I mean, you saw him when
All over the
Kentucky
field.
moved him to quarterback. He took over the game, and that really
Reminds
helped
you a
their
lot
season
of
last year.
obviously Randall Cobb when he was coming out. That's kind of what
He liked
Kentucky
that a
used him
lot.
for. And then on top of that, they were drafting. Obviously, what you're seeing, the common theme is the Raiders were drafting threats. On top of that, they picked my number one gem from last week's podcast, Brian Edwards.
Yeah,
And I think they got the steal of the draft in Brian Edwards. That guy has it all, honestly. He's going to be
yeah, he's a good pro type receiver.
that. Honestly, Derek Carr has no excuse but to produce now, or
It might be Marcus. Might be Marcus.
it could be Marcus. Marcus, listen, I don't think Marcus got his fair. He could be considered injury prone. I don't remember what game it was last year when he went out in the fourth with a pinky injury or something.
Yeah. See,
But I think Marcus, he's a good quarterback. His footwork is great. He's got an accurate arm. He could fit John Gruden. I don't know.
yeah, and John Gruden doesn't. I don't. There's reports that John Gruden doesn't really like Derek Carr that much, but
I can believe that.
But the thing I was going to say about Marcus is he does get injured and he goes out of the game quickly. I'd say instead of injury prone, he's just doesn't play through the injuries. Like somebody like Tua, who is definitely injury prone, he tries to play through his injuries every single time, and he's not coming off the field unless he has to. And then with Marcus with a pinky, that I'm sure most players in the NFL hurt every game comes out right away. So
don't come out of more of the story. Don't come out of the fourth quarter with a pinky injury if you're the quarterback.
In a close game.
Yeah, in a close game.
If you're blowing them out, it's okay.
Since we're talking about the Raiders really quick, the Raiders might have to be my new second favorite team in football because they have added to their total number of Clemson players on the team. They drafted Tanner Muse and Big John Simpson.
Mm-hmm.
They've just got a pipeline going on there. Anyways, Uh, last shocking thing. This is probably the most talked about shocking draft picks. The most shocking team in this year's draft. The Philadelphia Eagles had a really controversial one this year. First of all, starting out, their first round pick in a receiver heavy class where there's all kinds of great receivers. They took receiver Jalen Rager out of TCU, who was really, really, really underproduced last year. He had only 611 yards receiving and 5 touchdowns in his junior year at TCU. And the really controversial thing about this is they took him over Justin Jefferson, who was one of the highest graded receivers in the class at LSU.
Oh, so speaking back, I just thought about this. T was, I think, the 6th receiver taken. I don't know why it just came to my mind, not 5th.
Good one.
Justin Jefferson was the 5th. But yeah, and then they followed it up with, I mean, I guess Jalen Rager's got good speed and he's a good receiver. It's just with like I said, with what's going on with all these receivers in the draft, there was obviously
There's better options.
Yeah, I think. And then they followed it up with drafting Jalen Hurts, which I like Jalen Hurts as a player and as a person. Don't get me wrong about that. It's just if they're going to use him as a true quarterback, which a lot of people think that he's going to actually be a true quarterback in the NFL, with your second pick or your first pick in the second round, your second pick of the draft I just don't see why you would take him there. I mean, if you're going to use him like Taysom Hill as a utility player, I could definitely see it then because that adds so much to your offense that a lot of other teams don't have and hard for defense coordinators to plan for. And Doug Peterson's pretty good with being creative with stuff. I mean, obviously we saw he's not afraid to in the Super Bowl. He's not afraid to throw in a couple trick plays and stuff in there. So
I don't know, man. They got something up their sleeve. You don't take a backup quarterback you don't take a backup that early.
Yeah, especially when Carson Wentz was still making good throws and good decisions with the type of receivers that he had last year. I mean,
I don't know.
Best receivers Nelson Aguilar, and he drops every pass you throw to him. The fault was not on Carson Wentz last year.
Yeah.
So I just don't know.
I don't know. Either way, I think Jalen Hurts deserves a fair shake at being a quarterback. He don't deserve the Tim Tebow treatment. He deserves a fair shake at being a quarterback in the league because he produced in college. His arm got better.
Definitely got better at Oklahoma.
He had a really, really good senior year at Oklahoma. I don't know. He just deserves his fair shake. And if the Eagles are just going to use him as a freaking Taysom Hill type, I don't know.
Yeah. And I think if he's going to be a backup, a team he could be a backup for is the Cardinals. I think it's a good place for him to go and be a good backup.
Cliff Kingsbury
would be good with him.
All right, moving on now. We're going to bring in my girlfriend from last week. You remember Summer Hector. We're going to talk a little bit about the NCAA and, their settlement paying athletes now and maybe get into NASCAR and how they just released they're going to be coming back soon. Anyways, Summer, what do you think?
I just like how you said that I'm your girlfriend from last week.
They broke up
like there's multiple different weeks.
I do. Yeah, I switch off kind of often.
Anyway, Wednesday, the NCAA announced that the board would approve the idea to allow student athletes to receive compensation for their likeness, which a lot of people have been freaking out like, oh my God, NCAA athletes can't be paid now. Kind of, not everyone's getting paid. A lot of your smaller sports, probably nothing's going to change. But it is cool because, when you go to like a college bookstore and they're selling, I just think of at South Carolina, so many Clowney jerseys, that you see number 7s. Well, now if they were selling a number 7 Clowney jersey in a store, he could get the money for that. What are y'all thoughts on like that? Do you like it? Do you not like it?
Well, I think it's a pretty good thing. I think as long as they're keeping it where it's a third-party payment. It's not coming from the university, actually. They said that it'll only be from third-party compensation. And but also I think that the smaller divisions aren't going to adopt it as well because they said that it'll be up for interpretation of the different divisions. So I think only the big D1 schools will probably be getting into that one. Because they honestly, some schools, no one's going to pick them up as sponsorships for it.
Yeah. I think we all kind of saw this coming. Everybody knew eventually college athletes were going to have to get paid. But I'm just still a little iffy about how it's all going to work. I honestly, I think that they deserve to get paid, but you got to think about, you have your big faces, your big names on campus, but then you have your small guys who are like third string offensive linemen, et cetera, et cetera. How do you match up that pay, and how do you make sure that it's fairly?
I think that's why they limited it to the third parties and outside compensation, because that way you're getting your compensation for how popular you are instead of just the university paying all the players. So I think that's how they're going to differentiate that pay.
But
I think it's a good start, just because, I mean, obviously you have your advocates that say, oh, college athletes should be paid, but you got to think about how many athletes there are. I mean, no disrespect, but are you going to pay the swimmers and the gymnasts and all of them? I mean, everyone has seen the statistics that, they lose the school money, and it's not saying that it's not a great program. I mean, those athletes are having a once in a lifetime opportunity, but when you think about it, less than 2% of college athletes go pro. So when you're thinking about who's going to be making money, it's probably going to be those guys in the 2%. Now, there might be a few more. I mean, we always think about, the few quarterbacks or whatever that are stars in college, and then they kind of, tank in the NFL or don't make it for whatever reason. So if they could profit in college off of how famous they are, I think that's a great thing that they kind of get to benefit off of, because, going forward. But in the long run, to me, I think it makes perfect sense, because it gives that balance of, if this guy's bringing in the school that significant amount of money, pay him. But we're not having to pay everyone yet. But this could be, the first step in paying all college athletes.
I think it's a start, and I think it's a reaction to the G League with how they're making where you can not just G League, also, well, I know the XFL fell out now, but how it was you could go in there and get your 3 years or basketball 1 year for whatever you need to just basically to skip college and get paid right away. So I think it was a reaction to try to keep the college athletics as competitive as can be with the top.
No, I agree. I think that's kind of part of the NCAA's attempt to kind of stay relevant, because you have a lot of these basketball players now that are like, oh, I'll just go to the G League. I don't need to go to play college. So
I think there was like 3 in the past week before they made this ruling that they were going to do that. So
yeah, I heard that too.
So I think that's why I think it's just a first step. I think more will come from it as time goes on.
What I'm saying about this whole thing is all right, let's see. We'll take all right, we'll go Clemson easy. All right. You got Trevor Lawrence, big name at quarterback. All right, so you're telling me Trevor Lawrence is going to be making bank out here because you know how much the university is going to profit off his likeness. But then you have, I don't know, whoever's sitting behind them used to be Chase Bryce, DJ Langley, these guys who go to the same practice every day, do all the same drills every day, and same type of thing, but they're making pretty much nothing. Trevor Lawrence is going to be rolling up to the facility in a Lambo with all these chains on. These guys are still going to be broke college kids. That's the only thing that confuses me.
Some of that has to go with like when in a regular job setting, the people who do more for the company get paid more. It's not the worst employee doesn't get paid the same much as the best employee. It all evens out. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think, even when you think about it, it's never going to be fair, because even if you were to pay all college athletes, I mean, the likeliness of football players being paid the same as, college swimmers or college soccer players, probably not even going to be the same. So, I mean, you can give the argument, oh, well, why is Trevor Lawrence making more money than the backup quarterback? Well, it's never going to be even. And on the contrary, I kind of always think of, Marcus Lattimore, great college athlete, gets hurt, probably could have had a great NFL career, maybe, but we'll never know because he had a career-ending injury. But if he could have profited off of some of his success in college, maybe that would kind of reward him more for that,
Yeah, I'm right there with you guys on that. I was just kind of playing a little bit of the devil's advocate right there for a second.
Gotta have to.
But it's kind of another part that I wonder about this whole settlement deal, whatever, is you've got, schools are sponsored by brands like Under Armour, South Carolina, Duke, Nike, Clemson, Nike, all that. Georgia Tech and Russell or whoever they used to be.
Oh, they're Adidas now. Adidas now.
Oh, Adidas? Big. Anyways, so what if you have a star athlete? All right, let's just think of this. What if you have Cole Anthony from North Carolina? They're sponsored by Jordan. What if Cole Anthony signs a deal with Under Armour? Like, what happens there?
I honestly have no clue on.
Yeah,
I
that
guess
that gets a
hard.
little iffy.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, no,
I don't know.
that does get confusing. I think if a school has a contract with a brand, I feel like there's got to be some overarching either clause or not in that contract that says you can't, sign with them at least after. But yeah, that would be interesting to know. Or I don't know about like commercials and things like that. And it kind of goes into, these sports that are like Olympic sports. So like if an athlete goes to the Olympics, you got to think about all the ads they ended up going in. Now, obviously, like football and basketball, college athletes aren't going to the Olympics, but in some other sports like track and field, swimming, gymnastics, I mean, that is a way for those athletes to get paid. Like you see these Olympic athletes on all the milk commercials or Gatorade. So yeah, it kind of, those people do get to profit off of that success, but then it kind of says, so yeah, can a football player get a Gatorade endorsement if his school is a Powerade school? I don't know how that works.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't really thought about that one. That was a good point to bring up. I mean, I guess in the NFL, their uniform sponsored by Nike, but players still have shoe contracts with other things. So I don't know if this is going to have the same ruling as that, where the uniforms have to be the same, but when it comes to gloves and shoes and stuff, it's up to your discretion. But I think for college, it'll be a little bit harder to govern that. So
yeah. Well, with
that, no, that's true. I mean, there's always going to be those next questions, but I think you're right. I mean, they'll probably follow NFL and a lot of those kind of ideas, I would think.
Yeah. So with that, we know how our college athletes going to be forced to sign like contracts per se, saying they could only sign with particular brands, or is like, so basically is the sponsorship of the university going to eventually play into the college decision of the athlete? Like, think of Zion Williamson when he's coming out. Everybody in the world knew Zion was going to be big stuff when he got to Duke. So let's say another Zion comes along. Is he going to choose his college based off of brand alignment? Like, say he wants to go sign with Jordan and personally, but he needs to go to a college that is also sponsored by Jordan, so he picks Florida over other colleges. I don't know. It's just going to be interesting to see.
A lot of people do that already, though, without the contracts, because some people, like, they don't like the type of uniforms the team wears, so they go to – I think a lot of this is proven with Oregon. A lot of their recruits in the past have came from the uniforms that they wear.
Yeah, but the thing with that is there's no money involved, and there's no, like, brands throwing money at these athletes saying you get this much if you sign with us, et cetera, et cetera. That's just all preference thing. Yeah, I know personally – I think that Jordan is a really cool brand. I'm not a big fan of Under Armour, but if Under Armour is giving me a significant amount more money than Jordan is, then I would probably go to a school that had Under Armour, honestly.
They could do it where there's like a bottom line payment, like a standard, like there's so much that you can get paid and you can't go over that. So
yeah, well, and I think if the brand was offering you that, like before you went to a college, it would kind of come down to, well, at that point you're still a high school athlete, so maybe it would be like you can't sign those deals until you're a college athlete, so that you can't do that. Because you're right. I mean, if Jordan was offering someone a lot of money and they're like, oh, well, then I'll go to UNC, maybe. I don't know. That's interesting.
Yeah. Well, either way, I'm excited. Well, maybe not excited is not the word, but I'm interested to see how all that's going to pan out. But there's obviously going to be some time before we get to see what effects this will have on college athletics. But
yeah, the NCAA says that it would go into effect for 2021. So I'm sure they would take, the rest of this year to answer all these questions. Yeah. I do think it's kind of important to kind of think about too, is like some people have said, oh, this is because of COVID-19, so that people can be compensated for that money, which I think is kind of funny, because it's like the only guys who are going to be benefiting off this are probably the guys who aren't really hurting anyway. And if you're going to college on a full scholarship, I think you're going to be okay anyway. So I just think that's kind of funny. I mean, it is ironic timing, but.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to leave you with this. thought on this subject and close it out. Just think about things that Dabo Sweeney says. At what point does college athletes at what point does it become the same as professional sports?
I think it becomes the same as professionals when the schools are giving the players contracts for paying them that much money to come there instead of they're just getting endorsements and getting sponsorships. So
I agree.
I think that's what separates.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think,
Definitely a fair point.
when you start paying players, it changes everything. I mean, that's why the NFL is so different. Not everyone, but a lot of those guys are money driven. You see guys holding out for more money. And I think, that changes a lot of things in college. That's why I think when you actually start paying them for their time is when it'll change a lot of things.
That's why I think they need to still limit it to just endorsements and
Yeah, I think so too. But I mean, people have been saying for a long time, high school sports will someday be college, and that's kind of how it's going to go. If college sports do end up paying, then we'll start watching high school because that's the last time players. College is the last time where people play a sport just because they want to play the sport for the camaraderie and the competition and for a bigger thing than just themselves. You get to the NFL, it's for yourself.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Well, we're going to need to move on here. Save a little time. I literally just got this news right before we came on here, but NASCAR seems to be one of the first sports to be breaking down the wall, making the return. They're set to race May 17th at Darlington. I can't even explain to you how excited I am for this, even though I've told you guys I'm not as into NASCAR anymore. This being the first sport to really come back, I am just pumped up for it. I don't know. What do you guys think? Too soon? Right on time? Excited? Not excited?
I think with a sport like NASCAR, even if they aren't going to have fans, because a lot of the viewers are on TV nowadays with NASCAR, there's not as many in-person fans. So I think that's why they have a quicker first step to getting back. And drivers are more isolated on themselves. I think it's easier to maintain the social distancing. And in places like they're only going to be racing in Charlotte and Darlington, places where there's lower amounts than other places, and places that they've already passed their peak on the curve. So I think it's a good time for it to come back for them. I'm just glad.
I know. I think. There was talk for a while that NASCAR could be one of the first sports to come back, just because it's not like it's a contact sport. You're in your cars. I wasn't clear if there would be any fans there. I'm guessing their fans aren't allowed to be there. But yeah, I think also it's kind of a smart move by NASCAR. Like Ethan said, not really a big NASCAR fan in a while. A lot of NASCAR fans, have gone downhill. So for them to be the first sport really back on TV, that helps them economically. Now, whether that is the main point of all of this, probably, honestly, but they're the only sport on TV. I can pretty much guarantee there's going to be just a lot of sports fans that have been feeding for live sports, and they're going to be like, heck yeah, I'm watching this.
Something new.
Everybody knows NASCAR is a very money-dependent organization. That's why you have all the sponsorships and why ticket sales is such a big deal for them. So I think that this could have somewhat been a strategic play by NASCAR to try to put more money in their pockets, which it could, even though we're going to lose the ticket sales. Their viewership is going to skyrocket because all sports fans are probably going to watch because they don't have stuff like NFL competing with them. What would be NBA playoffs would be going on right now on Sundays they would have to compete with. But
people are going to pay a lot of money for ads.
Carolina, South Carolina, Darlington, and North Carolina having Charlotte Motor Speedway being the first two to open back up. Those Carolinas, huh? We ain't scared. Step ahead of the curve, right?
Yeah, it's definitely exciting, for the Carolinas to make that step, until another outbreak happens. But hoping that it doesn't, it is kind of exciting to be able to host that. I think it'll be good, for the state, just for viewership and kind of getting out there. I know a lot of these NASCAR guys around the state, they're super passionate about NASCAR. We've heard the Darlington guys talk at USC, and those guys are, they're gung-ho on their NASCAR in Darlington. And it's kind of cool, though, just hearing everyone, even the governor, talks about how cool it is having the tradition of Darlington here. And then obviously we know how big Charlotte Motor Speedway is. And, like y'all said, it'll be close for the guys. So, traveling back and forth isn't going to be a lot of, distance for them.
The only thing that, I'm going to have to play I'm going to play devil's advocate once again. The only thing that would worry me if I were NASCAR is what if we open back up the season again. And, oh, by the way, we're doing double headers now. So NASCAR is going to be racing all their series, which would be Gardner Truck Series, their Xfinity Series, and the major leagues, which is the Monster Energy Cup. They're going to be racing double headers. Therefore, they're going to have the Monster Energy Cup race on May 17th, the first one on a Sunday, and then turn around and do it again on that Wednesday, which would be like the 20th, 21st, something like that.
Yes, 20th, I think.
But anyways, what I would be worried about if I was NASCAR is what if one of your drivers catches it or somebody catches it or another outbreak happens, then you're kind of looking like the dummy for opening everything back up and putting people in danger.
Yeah, I think that they're going to have to do a lot of probably have already started doing some tests on seeing who's got it, who's had it in the past. They're going to have some ventilators on site just to help prepare to get it, to be proactive with it and not reactive.
No, I agree. I know they said that when Major League Baseball was talking about when they could start back, and they talked about, just starting back at their spring training sites, so in Arizona and Florida, but they said that every player would be required to be tested. So, yeah, you got to think, same for them. If even one person gets tested positive, I would think they'd have to shut it back down. So then it's kind of like, then does that reset everything? Does that make it longer? I know baseball is a lot bigger and a lot more, contact in that, but that's something they were discussing too. So it'd be interesting to see, fingers crossed. You're like, hope it's not, but it'd be hard to believe, out of all these people, especially in a bigger sport like baseball, maybe not NASCAR, but with as many different baseball teams as there are, it'd be really hard that someone doesn't, still have it.
We need to be careful how we say NASCAR is a non-contact sport. You should tell people that like Dale Earnhardt. But anyways, moving on.
Contact with other people.
Well, contact with other equipment is probably way worse going 200 miles an hour.
Not if the equipment's not living with a virus on it.
The equipment is traveling 200. Yeah, but that was not on.
That's not the point of COVID-19.
Anyways, another thing about the coronavirus part. Moving on, not going to argue with you right now. Moving on. We mentioned how NASCAR, it would probably be easier for them to social distance, et cetera, et cetera. It'd be a good sport to be the first one to come back. But think about, you're still having these drivers and crew members and officials have to travel to the sites of the race, aka Darlington, Charlotte. They've got to travel. This could put them at risk in airports, wherever, even gas stations they may have to stop at, even if they drove. I don't know. That could be another factor that could be considered risky. I don't know. NASCAR just got to be careful with how they operate. We all know that.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah, I mean, I know for them, they're probably excited to be the first ones back, but yeah, that's all the stuff you got to think about. I don't know. I feel like it's going to be hard, to start back that quickly. I mean, that's in 2 weeks? And hope that not one person tests positive.
Yeah. Well,
we can be optimistic.
Yeah, you got our sentiments here at Clear the Benches. We are very excited, but at the same time, cautious. Anyways, Broom. Anyways, Summer, thank you, girlfriend of the week, for coming in again this week and enlightening us with your. All right, so moving on now to our next part of our podcast. We're going to be doing a little bit of NBA greatest of all time talk here. You see on your screen, you've got a new face. This would be our fourth new face on the podcast. It's my buddy from college, Nate Lamb. Decided I'd bring him on because if I know Nate, he loves a good sports debate. So, Nate, if you don't mind telling people a little bit about yourself, who you are.
Yeah, like you said, my name's Nate. I'm originally outside of Baltimore, went to USC with Ethan. Currently living in Charlotte. Played sports all my life, basketball, football, soccer, lacrosse. I even swam. So I love sports. I love a good sports debate. So I'm excited to get this going.
All right. Like I said, we're going to be talking about who we think is the greatest basketball player of all time. This is somewhat sparked by the new Jordan documentary out. What is it called? The Last Dance? Yeah. So it's kind of sparked a lot of – not sparked because this debate's been going on forever, but it's kind of brought into fruition the GOAT talk. Everybody's talking about who's the greatest of all time. It kind of started to sway. I feel like at some point it started to lean towards LeBron, but because this documentary documentary, I feel like everybody's jumping back on the Jordan bandwagon, seeing all this crap. Go ahead and state our allegiances now. I personally might sound like an idiot after that introduction because I think the greatest basketball player of all time is Kobe Bryant. So, what do you guys think? Who's y'all's pick?
I respect you.
Gritty. No, I'm just playing. It's LeBron. It's LeBron. No doubt in my mind.
I respect the Kobe pick, but I'm going with Jordan. On that line, I've always sided with him, even though I never really got to see him play in live action. But it's just always been who I've had.
Yeah, that's kind of my thing. I mean, I got to see Jordan play. I remember seeing Jordan play as a kid for the Wizards, but
Yeah.
I was alive for Jordan. I was born in '97, but my memories for the Wizards, so it might not
It's not the
touch my
same. It's not
heart
the same
as
one.
much as it touches some of our older viewers. Kobe, my Kobe pick is not recency bias because of his death. Kobe honestly is like my favorite basketball player of all time, so that could be biased, but it's not recency bias. I just feel like he was very transcendent to the game. He moved the game forward in a lot of ways. I think that's what makes him the GOAT in my.
Since I've been watching basketball, I'd say it's Kobe for me. I'll take him over LeBron, but it's a good debate. Everybody has their opinions.
Yeah, I mean, you can't go wrong with Kobe, LeBron, or MJ to take the final shot. I just think, I don't know. I'd rather have LeBron in four quarters.
Speaking about the final shot, for last second shots, Michael Jordan shoots over 50% in the finals and playoff games, while in the finals games, LeBron is 0% on the last second shot and less than 35% in the playoff games. So that's why I would rather have Michael for the last second shot between the two.
Do you have a sample size on that, Paul? How many times Jordan shot versus LeBron?
Yes, I got it right here. It is so with playoff game winners retires. LeBron within 24 seconds. Jordan is 9 of 18, and LeBron is 8 of 23. And within 25 seconds, Jordan is 10 of 19, and LeBron is 8 of 3. And when it comes to the finals game winners retires, Jordan is 4 for 8, and LeBron is 0 for 6.
That's fair, but he has taken less shots.
Yes, he has.
Which makes me think maybe he's in a position where he has to take less shots. But 6 isn't much less than 8, so.
Yeah.
My thing about so I'm gonna lump Kobe and Jordan into one here because Kobe and Jordan are kind of here. Like I just kind of see them there and there, but I just take Kobe. My thing, Kobe over LeBron, is when the game is on the line, crunch time situations, or even playoff situations. The ball is always in Kobe and Michael Jordan's hands, and it always seemed like, I don't know, more times than not they came up with what they needed, big shots. Yep. LeBron, he has a tendency sometimes to get a little bit more passive when he doesn't need to. Even when he was with the Heat, he would defer to Dwayne Wade, which that's a good one to defer to more times than not. I don't know. There's just something about the big shot and the clutch factor that means something to me. I don't know. That's why I take Kobe.
Yeah, I think Jordan is he's more likely to single-handedly take over a game rather than LeBron is. LeBron does that a lot, but not as many times as I think Jordan has. And a remarkable one. I didn't get to watch this when this was in the '93 finals, but I've seen some highlights and some stuff about it. Jordan took over and pretty much single-handed won that game 6 of the '93 finals. His whole team was cold. I can't remember exactly where they shot, but it was terrible besides him.
My thing with LeBron is like, yeah, you could say he started the Big Three debate, the super teams in 2009 when he went to Miami with LeBron and Bosh, or with Dwayne and Bosh. But, before that, could you name 3 players that he played with in Cleveland that he took the finals?
Steve Novak.
Anderson Varejao, Delonte West.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go with James Jones, Mike Miller. Nah, no one great. No one great, honestly.
No one
Exactly.
did, yeah.
Like none of them are still in the league. Now, Dwayne and Bosch aren't in the league because they were all old, but you know what I'm saying? Like you never heard of anything Delonte West did other than his maybe extracurriculars with LeBron's mom. Everybody knows that story.
Yeah.
You only hear of Boobie Gibson now if you watch reality TV, if that. Nobody even talks about Eric Snow, Larry Hughes. Anderson Varejao was known for his hair more than his basketball. So, I mean, Jordan played with Rodman, played with Pippen. He had Steve Kerr, who is an underrated point guard. I'm not saying he was a great point guard, but he's an underrated point guard and won a finals game for him, if I'm not mistaken. But I'm just saying the supporting cast for Jordan overall has been better than LeBron's supporting cast minus those years in Miami.
And I would argue his latest year or his second latest years in Cleveland, he had Kyrie, he had JR when JR was pretty good when he wasn't high, smoking pot all the time, but he had a pretty good team there too.
He drank that Henny.
Yeah, he was off the Henny.
Here's my thing with what you said, Nate, is before he went to Miami initially, he played with those guys. He played with a far inferior supporting cast, but he didn't win a final. He didn't win a finals with them. So that
but
he didn't win a finals until he went down there and formed one, I think. I'm pretty sure he missed playoffs at least 1 year with them, probably his rookie year.
Well, damn, you can't fault the dude for missing the playoffs once with a supporting cast like that.
I don't know, dude. Kobe.
Kimba took the Hornets to the playoffs. Looked way worse than
that. My thing with Kobe is, he had a better supporting cast than LeBron did in his first run in Cleveland, but it's not that much of a. There's not much of a difference between the Cavaliers after he returned and Kobe's Lakers teams with Paul Gasol. I mean, I'm kind of put those teams right there, kind of at the same level. The thing is, Kobe, he won 5 rings with never really had what you would consider a super team. Kobe was, I don't know. Kobe is the type of guy that could take a game over by himself. I don't know. I don't see LeBron as that type of guy.
Kobe played with arguably one of the most dominant centers to ever play the game.
Who, me?
Kobe.
Shaq.
Who are you?
Kobe played
Shaq? We're talking 3 years with Shaq. That's way different.
That's 3 rings.
No, 2 rings.
No, 2. They didn't win all 3.
Still, you can take away Kobe's years that he had with Shaq, and he still has the same amount as LeBron has.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good point.
There's that.
I think that.
And then here's my argument. Just going to go ahead and throw my argument out there with Kobe versus MJ. Is Kobe was a better one-on-one player than MJ, and MJ admitted it himself. Kobe is easily the best offensive player of all time.
It's a team sport, Ethan.
Easily the best offensive player of all time.
Jordan was a better defender. Out of the
LeBron
3,
beating
Jordan,
Kobe and Jordan.
No, all in their primes.
All in their primes, LeBron is beating Jordan and Kobe 101. They can't stop him.
LeBron better hope he gets the ball first because he ain't going to stop. He's not going to be able to stop them.
No. Jordan admitted this himself. You can go look.
Until recent years, LeBron did not play defense. Until he got his last year with the Cavs.
He wants to play defense.
Yeah.
That's fair. That's fair.
But you can look this up. Look up the video, the interview of Michael Jordan. He admitted himself the only player that would ever beat him one-on-one is Kobe Bryant. He admitted himself.
He did admit that. It's a tough look.
I don't know. For me, I see a lot of lists out there with people listing their greatest players of all time, and I see Kobe at like 5 or 6, and that's just, I don't know. It just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I saw one I can't remember. ESPN put it up probably 3 years ago, and Kobe was like 10 or something. Yep.
You get my keys.
In my pocket.
I just think if you take all of them and put them in their primes in the same era, I think LeBron has the best stat line.
The best stat line?
I think LeBron has the best stat line. He's probably got the most successful team. I mean, like,
I don't know the stats that well.
you think LeBron would get pushed around by the bad boy Pistons?
Yeah.
Would he get pushed around? He'd probably cry. Yeah, the bad boy Pistons
He'd
would
flop the whole time.
Yeah, the bad boy Pistons would be all in LeBron's head.
I don't think so. I don't think so. I think LeBron would easily go through a Bill Laimbeer or Rick Mahorn, just like
Ron barely goes through
Okay,
Kevin Durant.
hang on. LeBron got locked up a few finals ago by Andre Iguodala. Let's talk about that.
Hey, he won a Finals MVP. Don't even.
Because he strapped up LeBron James.
Yeah, he was also
And
one
Andre
of the
was
best
in the last
defenders.
2 years of his career.
Yeah, but he's not a bad boy Piston for sure.
I don't know. But then if
Not.
you put Jordan in the era of basketball today, do you think he's averaging what he averaged back then? No. The players are better now.
Same team, yes. Same team,
I
he
think so.
does.
I don't know. The players are a lot better today than they were back then.
I'll give you this. LeBron, as an athlete, is probably the best athlete in NBA history as like a specimen, strong and fast, and
Oh, he's a freak.
drives to the rim and dunk on everybody. He is by far probably the best athlete in NBA history. But I'm talking ball skills, jump shots, basketball IQ. I don't know.
Yeah, in all
But
aspects, I
LeBron
don't think.
plays the game to his strengths, which is him, and he can still hit a three.
But to be the best player of all time, I think you need to be strong in all aspects of the game, which I believe MJ was the strongest in all aspects of the game.
Jordan couldn't really shoot either at the beginning of his career, and towards the end, he was better.
He
but
definitely
still,
found out how to.
Yeah.
He still wasn't a great shooter. He was just clutch.
No, none of the three you could say were amazing three-point shooters.
Yeah, none of
but
them are Steph Curry or anything like that. But
No, I don't know. I just think one of the things that
You
stood
put
out
them
to
all-
me. Good.
No, you got it.
It was like one of the things that stood out to me is when I bring up the Miami, like LeBron leaving to Miami. He took that team and made them a contender in the East every year. Left to Miami. The Cleveland Cavaliers went 16 or 19 and 19 and whatever 82 minus 19 is, right? They won 19 games that year,
Math.
the year after LeBron left. Jordan left after, I guess he retired. I guess this was when after he retired. The Bulls won 57 games the year before. He retired, the Bulls won 55 games. And 4 additional expansion teams, 3 of which were in the East. So that's 6 guaranteed wins. Or no, not 6, 12 guaranteed wins every year.
That's a pretty good point.
well, Jordan had 10 scoring titles and LeBron has 1.
That's the offense. I don't know.
And he's still a better defender.
You put Jordan in the NBA today, he's not winning a scoring title easily.
Who beats Jordan? Who would score more points than Jordan? In the NBA?
Harden averaged 37 last year.
Yeah, that's cheese. Jordan would probably average more points now than he did then. in
Jordan
my
can't
opinion.
shoot like Harden, though. Jordan
He
can't
doesn't
shoot
need
like
to. He
Curry.
can just
That's-
drive and dunk on everybody.
Yeah,
But
the
if that's
league
the
is
case,
so
then why is
soft now
If that's the case, though, why isn't LeBron
But he
scoring
flops
champions?
every time.
because he can't.
Because the game has revolutionized the three-point line, which does not fit Michael Jordan's strong suit at all.
It doesn't fit LeBron's strong suit either.
That's why he's not the scoring champion. That's why it's Harden, Curry, KD.
You're right on that. I don't know. We need to take our parting shots here so we can somewhat move on. But I don't know. Coming out of this, it's looking like none of us are budging on this.
I
Uh,
don't think we're going to
I don't
agree.
think so. Yeah.
nobody will ever agree on this debate.
No, never.
People always have their own opinions, and for whatever
that-
reason, they're probably
There's that website where you can go to and I think it's like LeBronOrJordan.com, and every time it gives out a different winner for which one's the better player.
yeah. That's just
I think that's a lot how
I don't know.
America thinks in general today.
All that I would want people to remember after listening to me talk during this segment is that there's not a large gap between Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan and LeBron. It's not like Michael Jordan and LeBron are competing for the best ever, and Kobe's like 6. You have Kobe, Michael Jordan, LeBron, and they're all right here.
Yeah, they're all top 3
having
for
Kobe,
sure.
Yeah, low nonsense is just that's out of the question.
I agree with that. I will never.
To move the conversation on just a little bit, this is probably a tougher question for you guys. Aside from the big 3 we've been talking about, who would be your 4th best player of all time? When you get past the Kobe, LeBron, and Jordan,
Kareem.
and who do you get to? Who's number 4? What do you think?
Kareem.
That's
Kareem?
Tough. Yeah. Or Bill.
If we're going strictly off statistics, it's Wilt Chamberlain, but I don't even want to say Wilt Chamberlain because of the people he played against.
Yeah, well, I don't know. It depends if you're talking about statistics. I don't know, but if you put everyone in the NBA, we'll talk in the concept. If you put everybody in the NBA at the same time,
I still see.
I think.
Who do you think?
I probably go with probably Magic Johnson.
It's respectable. I think any of the older Lakers players could definitely be in the consideration for the 4th best of all time.
Can we get Chase in this? John Wall. I mean, because my immediate answer was Shaq.
It was between Magic and Shaq.
It came to my mind, yeah.
You know
Especially a young Shaq too. A young Shaq you couldn't stop him.
When he's bounced around through all the teams.
I think you put Shaq in any era against any centers ever in his prime, and he gets the best. You know, he was just more physical.
Yeah,
he was just a beast. He was unstoppable. I don't think anybody had anything for Shaq.
No, I'd agree with that.
Yeah, I mean,
I think in any sport, it's tough to compare people on how great they are in general.
Yeah,
off of position.
Well, I mean,
I just think basketball.
Go ahead.
I was going to say I think basketball is more easier than obviously football or something like that. Maybe baseball might be the easiest to compare.
I mean, yeah, but if you look at football, like nobody ever says like he's the greatest player of all time. People say Brady's best quarterback of all time or something like that, but not ever like the best football player of all time. So I don't know.
Either way, you'll probably hear more of these debates on this podcast, and honestly, the debates will never end on this subject at all. So